Hi everybody, how you doing? 8 o'clock Wednesday. I had a wee break last week. A wee night off from doing this on a Wednesday. So thanks for tuning in. It's a rotten night in Glasgow. I think my demos will be determined by weather, because if we get some sunshine, I'll be out in it. It's been a busy few weeks. This week's particularly busy, isn't it, Laura?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of filming to do this week, haven't we, Laura? We're doing some filming for the Turf show. I was supposed to be there doing some demos for a couple of days, but like most things, it is going virtual. So the Turf show, or some of it at least, will be from this very kitchen. So we are bringing the Highlands and the North East to Glasgow for a few dishes. Tonight I thought I would make I'd make fish pie, to be honest. Fish pie is one of those dishes that people want to make at home. It's super simple. It's ideal for doing in the house, and it's a kind of fish dish that I think even people who don't like fish will eat. Loads of mash, nice and creamy, loads of flavour. And I'm also going to do a chickpea, sort of spicy chickpea salad, bit of green chilli in there. There's some coriander seeds, some cumin seeds, some yoghurt, some coriander, and I'm going to do some sweet potato fries. So all of these are in the books. If you want to read along, fries are on page 150, and that's what I'm going to be doing first. Then we're going to be moving on to the fish pie, which is 109. And then lastly is the salmon, which is 79. As normal, my amazing daughter Laura is behind the camera, and Sharon is on the questions. Any questions yet, Shazza? Is anybody watching yet? No. Is there some people watching? Yeah. Right, good, because I take to think I'm standing here myself. Nobody laughed at me. You would tell me if I was on one, wouldn't you? Right. Two cracking dishes tonight, loads of technique, and I think it's something that people will do at home. Normally when I do these live things and I do fish, normally the numbers just plummet, but we'll see what happens tonight. If they plummet, I'm not coming back. So, where are we? Sweet potato fries. So, sweet potato fries, super easy. So, we've got some sweet potatoes. Just keep the skin on. I've given these a wash earlier. Just going to chop them into chips, leaving the skin on, nice and orange. We pick these up for about £1 in the supermarket. Just pop them in a bowl. Use that wee end. So, much as it's a busy week, I had a couple of days on my wee car, so I've got a wee, what I would call classic Fiat 1. I use the word classic very loosely, but I was working on my car. About 10 years ago I took the interior out, because it used to lie in my driveway, and when it rained, the rain went in it. So what I decided to do 10 years ago was take them.
Susie here asking about all your ovens, what they do.
What they do? I'm talking about my Fiat, and people want to talk about ovens. Right, we'll talk about ovens. Right, they basically, the one on the left at the end is a kind of combi oven. So that can be a steamer as well as an oven and both and everything else. The two in the middle are just regular sort of convection ovens, and the one on the end is a convection oven and a microwave, and underneath that there's a little drawer warmer which I'm actually doing some dried tomatoes in at the minute for one of the dishes I'm doing for Turf. Where was I on my Fiat, champ? You're only listening, you switch off when I talk about my Fiat, don't you? Right, so wee Fiat, It's a 1980 Fiat 127. Eh? Rust bucket, yeah. And I took the interior out about 10 years ago. And what?
Rona wants to know if the combi oven is in many domestic kitchens.
This one, the steamer one. Well, it is a domestic oven. I use it for things like proving bread or even baking bread in it, where you can put a wee bit of steam. But it works well. You just have to be careful you don't have it on too long, because when you open the door, the water goes into the drawer. Right, so I've got our chips. So to that, I'm going to add, in fact, what I'll do is I'll get my spices in first. So, I'm going to add some Cajun spice. That's about 2 teaspoons. Some smoked paprika. I think when it came to designing the kitchen, we were looking for a kind of really nice backdrop and to fill the space, and we initially looked at putting in what was called a Wolf fridge, and it's a big kind of stainless steel posh fridge, but we thought it just dominated the back space, so we kind of filled it with ovens. So all the fridges and stuff are back there as well, but it's a great kitchen, absolutely brilliant. And the best thing about this kitchen is it's so easy to tidy up. The next thing I'm adding is corn flour. Just a mixture of corn flour. What that corn flour is going to do is really help with texture. And then I'm going to add some semolina. I might have added some of that. And semolina is, I remember writing this recipe when I was doing the book, and I didn't put semolina in it because I'd just finished doing the recipe for roast potatoes, which I always put semolina in, and I left it out so that I wouldn't be too much the same. But semolina is an amazing ingredient. I use it in loads of stuff. And then I'm going to top that with some amazing Scottish rapeseed oil, again from the northeast.
Michael's loving your t-shirt.
Michael who? Is it? My Michael? Thanks, Michael. I had a meeting last week and I had to wear a suit. I was terrified it wasn't going to fit. But it was kind of weird putting on a pair of shoes. Right. So, I'm going to pop these onto a tray, and basically all I'm going to do here is just pop them in the oven and keep them moving. I don't think I've made these before in here, have I? Yeah, fries. So I've got the oven up at 200, I think it's 205.
Katie's asking what was added after your paprika.
So it was, there was corn flour, or corn starch, if you're watching from the States, some smoked paprika, Cajun spice, and semolina. Tidy. Trust Michael to notice my t-shirt. I wish I could say it was me that had the trendy eye for retro nerdy t-shirts, but it's my kids that buy me them.
That was your daughter who wanted that one.
Was it? Did you buy me this one, Laura?
Jen's asking how much you all your spices.
Just a wee drop. It was there was about two teaspoons of each. But Jen's got the book, hasn't she?
Yes.
So Jen, it's in the book. Page 150. Normally when I do demos, when I'm like live doing demos, I even if I'm providing a recipe, I never ever give the recipes out until the end, because you get people in the audience that will put their hand up and tell me I've put in too much or too little or whatever it is. So it's not a case of it's not an exact science, because it depends on how you like things spicy or whatever else like that. Right, the next thing I'm going to move on to is the fish pie. The fish pie needs a sauce, a white sauce, or a bechamel as it's known. Dead easy to make. Make that a lot, maybe once or twice a month. We do different types of macaroni, or it's a base for lasagna or that sort of thing, but it's a great sauce. If there's anything you get from today, it's how to make a bechamel. So I've got about half a litre or 500 ml of milk. You can use any milk you like.
Trish was asking what your semolina does.
The semolina is, that's an easy answer. The semolina is adding texture, so it's going to help. See the little bits you get on things like roast potatoes, the little crunchy bits? That's the effect it will have on the fries. So again, semolina, I would do that even if it was just kind of potato wedges or roast potatoes or even salty potatoes, just a little bit of that in the end. It works a treat. So the next thing I need, so I've got some milk, as I say, 500 ml. I'm going to take a small onion. I'm just going to roughly chop the onion up. And again, this is probably not the way we teach in college, but there's a bit of common sense cookery here. I want to try and impart flavour from the onion into the milk. So it's just like making a cup of tea when you put a tea bag into hot water. The exact same thing here, is we're adding onion to the milk. To that, I'm also going to add a bay leaf and a couple of cloves. I was thinking, Sham, see those cloves we've got? We moved house with them. They're about 3 years old, even older maybe, but they're really strong and they last. I'll have them for another couple of years.
Tammy's asking if she can substitute the semolina with.
Ooh. Polenta. A wee bit of polenta, dried polenta. Right, so we're just bringing that up slowly to the boil. Normally if I'm making a bechamel, this is the first thing I would do, and I would bring that to the boil and then I would just let it sort of incorporate the flavour for about 20 minutes. We don't have 20 minutes, but this stage here is worth doing. So next, I'm going to take equal quantities of unsalted butter and flour. So I've got 50 grams of butter, and I'm going to just let that melt a little bit. You could do this with 50 grams of oil, something like rapeseed oil or veg oil. But this is the classic way of doing it, is with a bit of butter.
Well, we've got Stuart here, he's saying in the book, do you not stir the onion with your beer?
I do, but that book, that recipe was written 2 years ago, and as I said right at the start, common sense has prevailed, and you get more flavour by chopping onion up. So well spotted, Smarty Pants. Who was that?
Stuart Blake.
Stuart Blake. This is exactly why I don't hand the recipes out when I'm doing a demo, because somebody always digs you up. But again, it was just, I mean, it's actually just since lockdown that I started chopping it up, because you know, like most people, I have been doing a lot more cooking at home, and you kind of think to yourself, well, why is the onion in whole? I mean, surely you get more flavour by chopping the onion into it and then sieving the onion out. So that's what I've done. So when book 2 comes out, I will have a wee story about why I'm chopping onions up for a white sauce. Right, so I've started the sort of melting process. To that, again, this is pre-measured, 50 grams. Anybody from the States that's watching and got my book, and the back page or towards the back of the book there's a conversion chart, and that will give you the American alternatives. So, which I use a lot because I write a lot of recipes that go to the States. Yesterday I was working on, there's a magazine called Celtic Life, and I do a column in that every time it's out. So yesterday was my day. I was writing my recipe for that, and I always write it Americanized. So it's a Canadian magazine that goes all over the States, and it covers all things Celtic, not Celtic, I might add. But right, so the flour's added, and I just want to cook this out. But it covers all the Celts, the Gauls from France, the Welsh, the Irish, Scots, and maybe I've missed some. Massive audience. Right. I need my sieve. Every time I go to use my sieve, I always think I need to buy another sieve. So I use it all the time. Right, so I'm going to add a little bit of the flavoured milk. Just a little bit of the milk at a time.
Mary here saying that you're telling your college friends not to cut the onion when they're making a sauce.
Oh, they would not be happy with that.
No,
That wouldn't go down well at all. And can I be honest, if I was at college and I was teaching it, I would probably stud the onion as the books say, but I'd maybe drop into conversation the additional flavour obtained by chopping it first. I think the important thing is when teaching is there's consistency, so the students meet a lot of different lecturers. So, but I haven't taught in a couple of years, so it's something I really miss. Hopefully one day I'll get another go at it. So gradually adding the milk. And if you add it a little bit at a time, what happens is it's smooth. If you add the whole lot at once, you end up with lumpy sauce. If you add a little bit at a time, and as I say, this works well for simple things like macaroni cheese and that sort of thing. While that's on, I'm actually gonna. Earlier I made some mash, and what I need to do with this is just put a little bit of heat underneath it, just so that it pipes. So that was the last of the milk. You may need to add a little bit more, just depending on how much I've lost through evaporation or spilling or whatever. But for me, that's quite a nice consistency. If this was maybe macaroni, I'd probably let it down a little bit. But because we are putting in fish. So next, this is fish pie mix from the supermarket. It came frozen, and I've added a little bit of salmon that I had in the freezer as well. So I'm just going to turn my sauce down and just add the fish. And there's a little bit of smoked haddock in there, albeit rubbish smoked haddock, but it will add a little bit of smokiness. So things in Scotland are starting to open up a wee bit. There's more aeroplanes flying overhead, there's more restaurants getting their doors open. I think it was last Wednesday was the official day that restaurateurs could invite people into the restaurants. Right, so we've got our fish, we've got our sauce. To that I'm going to add a little bit of Orkney cheese. And the rubbish cold weather that we're having is perfect for both the dishes I'm doing tonight. Right, so a bit of cheese in there. And to that I'm going to add some peas and sweet corn. So this, for me, this is a kind of Wednesday night dinner. I'm going to add a little bit of milk to that. I thought the fish was a bit wetter, but it seems to be. For that I've also got some spring onions. It's also one of our friends' birthdays today, so Heather, happy birthday from all of us. I hope you're probably not watching us. You're probably.
She was here.
Was she? I thought she'd be in the hot tub with a bottle of gin at one side and a bottle of fizz on the other on her birthday.
Bottle of vodka and leather.
Oh, it's vodka. Yeah, that's right. It is vodka. The last of the vodka drinkers. Don't know anybody drinks vodka.
Like Faye's saying, could you use the all-in-one method for the white sauce?
Could you use what?
The all-in-one method.
What is all-in-one method? Just bung it all in and hope for the best. I think it would be lumpy if you just flung everything in at the one go. But I've never done it, so I'm always open for learning. I sometimes make it in my blender. I've got that fancy blender, and it can heat things up. And with that, you can, because it's a blender, and it eventually gets rid of the lumps.
Jen's saying that some people add eggs. Would you?
To this? Oh, boiled egg, I think you can put in a fish pie, can't you? I've never done it. Right. So this is still raw, and it's actually pretty cold as well. But I just want to give it a wee goose. I've got some mustard here as well. It's a whole grain mustard I've got. Probably my favourite mustard for this would be Arran mustard. I think the recipe says Dijon.
You're concerned about your fries here.
Oh, are they?
I don't know how they are.
Thank you. They look good. Right. So I've added the mustard. can't remember if it was lemon.
Faye's saying here, cold milk, cold butter, flour and whisk constantly over the heat till it's ready, which is never had a lump yet.
Perfect, I'll need to try that. Does she measure it, or is it a guess? The secret will be that you're measuring it. That'll be your reason for success. But again, you can put anything you want in it, anything at all. Right, another wee taste.
It's a guess.
A guess, and it works. I mean, I always say for savoury cooking, it's all about touch and feel and everything else. But I always measure bechamel because you can end up with something really thick or really thin. Right. So I'm just going to pop that there, ready for the next stage, which is the mash. Come over and see these, Laura. So they are starting to get there. In fact, they're pretty much ready. What I'm looking for here is just to keep them in a wee bit longer. Right. Turn that down a wee bit. I'll turn that down, so I'm going to cook some salmon in there in a wee minute. Right. So the mash, which I may or may not have burnt. It's one for you later, Shanda. That pot.
She's a night of fish is all good.
Right. So I've got some mash, and what I want to do, just get a little bit hot. I'm just going to bring that back a wee bit with a bit of double cream. You could bring it back with some butter, and there's also 2 egg yolks in here. You want nice smooth mash. There's 2 egg yolks in there because the egg yolks will help glaze it. Right. So next I've got 2 disposable piping bags, one inside the other. You can buy these online. And you get a roll of 100, really quite cheap. And this might be burning. Again, the secret here is don't put too much in the bag. You say one? Who's got the book?
Stuart, he's made your pie a few times, so...
He's made it more than me. Because one just bends and pops, so it just gives it more strength. I bet you it's dead easy. And it is the sort of thing that you can do in advance. So you can
Told you saying that some chevron and that would be nice in your mash.
some chevron. Anton is, if Anton's a chef, Anton's about the same age as me, because chevron is a really kind of,
I have not heard of that in a long
it's a class, I mean it's a herb I love, and it's a herb you don't see very often. And it's always chefs of my generation that talk about chervil. So Anton, are you a chef?
Michael wants to know if that's my dinner tomorrow night. No carbohydrate.
We've had dinner.
Not tomorrow night, fish pie, but
No, this is this will be.
Does it float my boat, does
It's
it?
nice and burning now. So I'm back on the telly, albeit repeats. So Corner Shop Cook-Off is on BBC iPlayer. It's worth a wee look. And MasterChef Professionals is on Netflix if anybody's got it. I'm on episode. I'm on rewatching them, and I'm on episode 12, I think. On a loop.
Constantly.
I haven't watched in ages. I've been watching Flipping Bangers. Hi Jennifer. Was it Jennifer or Susan that put up pictures of the sausage?
Yes.
Right, so I'm going to pop that in the oven. I'm going to move the fries in here. I'm going to pop this in the oven. And I'm going to give it a little bit of grill as well. So there's a kind of, I've got a little bit of top heat on that so we can get some colour on the mash.
Anton saying what for you in the oregano?
Wow. Anton. Ah, right, aye. And he's not an old chef, he's a young chef. Anton's young. Obviously been taught by an old chef.
Amy back from Ealing Scott.
Hi Amy. Right, so that is fish pie. The next thing I want to do is a really quick dish, and it's a little kind of yogurt-y chickpea salad. Where's my spices?
Larry, you're saying that you're convincing this American to try fish pie.
They must have fish pie in America. I don't know, what's the origins of fish pie? I don't think it's Scottish. I was tempted tonight to actually do puff pastry. Right, so I've got some coriander seeds and some cumin seeds. I think in the book it's just coriander seeds. But my coriander seeds and cumin seeds were mixed up. And a cinnamon stick. This is the last of my spices that I got in India. So earlier in the year, before COVID, or right at the start of COVID, I got a wee trip to India. And when I go to India, I always buy spices. But this is the last of my spices. I bought 2 big bags of coriander and cumin seed, and that's them gone. Right, so get a tin of chickpeas. Some lemon zest. I don't know if anybody's noticed on Facebook, but I've stopped putting recipes up because I've ran out of recipes with pictures. But we're filming this week, so we'll get some more up. Well, I'll get them up after the turf show. Right, so basically what I'm doing here is I'm dry roasting the spices. So we've got whole spices. Laura, get the camera right in there. We've got whole spices, and what we're doing is we really hit them with a lot of heat, and what that does is it kind of brings them alive, and the flavour you get from this is incredible. So I'm going to pop them in the pestle and mortar. I'm going to use this in a minute. And then just grind these down. And this sort of stuff in demos is always good fun, because what it does is it fills the whole room with the most amazing smell of spice. We may have some fish pie for the neighbours this evening, if anybody's watching. Eh? We will have fish pie. We had steak pie for dinner tonight. So we had a mad rush. We never got in until the back of 5. Then I'm making dinner, then tidying the kitchen and getting set for this. Right. So we've grinded the spices down. And then I'm going to add 2.
Yeah, Michael said it was in English.
Good way to Google that, Michael. Michael, are you working yet? Are you back on the tools? I see you got a lovely new haircut. I think I'm the only person during lockdown that's looked the exact same as they did when they started. Huh? I wonder why. So I always say there's always an advantage to not having hair.
Jen wants to know if you can freeze the pan.
No, because the fish is frozen if you buy a frozen pan mix. I don't know, I probably wouldn't freeze a bechamel. I don't know, maybe. I don't know. These are, Jen's asking me all these questions, she probably knows the answer to better than me. I don't know, I mean, we actually, in this house, we don't freeze anything. I vacuum pack. I don't know if I've spoken about vacuum packing before, but we vacuum pack everything. So basically, if, for instance, if I was to vacuum pack something, I would get 10 days.
Michael saying here it was originally loads of herring covered in pastry.
Oh, was it? And it's English? We'll call it British for our viewers abroad. I always think of herring being Scottish catch, maybe I'm wrong. Right, so a couple of cloves of garlic. Incidentally, this garlic is from the northeast. There's a pattern here. This is from the really garlicky garlic company. Garlic grown in Scotland. So if you're concerned about food mileage, I think most garlic that we buy in the supermarkets is probably from China. So the really garlicky garlic companies can send you a box that will last you for a few months.
Jen wants you to do a show in vacuum pack.
A show on vacuum packing? Right, so we've got some green chilies. These knives haven't been out in a while. There'll be a lot of chefs saying that this week. A lot of chefs are going back to work this week for the first time in 4 months, which is incredible to say. So guys, if you can, get out into your local restaurants and start getting these guys moving. So some green chilli, I'm going to squeeze a bit of lemon in there, and I've got a packet of coriander, just chop that. Just turn the oven up a wee bit, because what we're going to do is we're going to run out of time before it's ready. So I've just turned it up a wee bit just to get a bit of colour on it, just so it doesn't look rubbish by the time we finish here. So coriander. Again, coriander you use a whole lot, use the stalks and leaves. You're trying to grow coriander. Sam, our wee herb garden is looking rubbish. It's looking a bit. It looks a wee bit.
It's going in the bin.
The rosemary looks okay.
It's going in the bin.
Coriander's just wild. Right.
I'll buy you artificial.
You can't eat artificial.
But it will look good all the time.
Right, so got some yogurt. Again, good Scottish company. Natural yogurt. Have a wee zoom in there, Laura. Laura, you should have this for your dinner since you never ate your steak pie. What do you say to that?
Okay.
Eh?
Okay.
And this also takes a little bit of smoked paprika, if memory serves.
Scott here asking that when you're finished with your recipes, could you get a close up of your apple? Your app on the wall.
Yeah. Wow. Those green chilies are quite hot. Right. I'm just going to put that to one side for now. Right. Next thing we want to do, we've got our little chickpea salad, we've got our fries, we've got our pie. Last but not least is the pan frying of salmon. So I did a thing a few weeks ago with the Scottish Salmon Company, and I was doing some filming for Fun Enough America, trying to help the export market, and I got a lot of salmon delivered. So all the neighbours got it, and our friends got it, and their friends got some. So there was loads. But what I did with some of it was I had a little segment of pan frying fish on that video, and we sent out that wee segment of the video to some of our friends. Because, and I'm not going to name Laura specifically, but she was going to take the most expensive farm salmon in the world. She was going to bung it in some tin foil and fling it in the oven. Right, so I had to send her the wee video. So guys, pan frying fish is something that a lot of people, I think, struggle with. And yeah, we've got a bit of salmon today, but this could be any bit of fish, bit of cod or anything like that. So what we need is, we need to save the pie.
Save your pie.
So, looking at a nice hot pan. Now what we want to do is make sure the pan is nice and hot. And I'm going to pop the salmon skin side down into the oil. So, what we're doing here, and this is where people go wrong, they take a fish slice and they start prodding and poking at the salmon, and they discover, or the fish, and then they discover it's stuck, and they panic and they try and scrape the fish off the bottom of the pan. They eventually scrape it off, flip it over, guess what, it sticks again. The reality is that when you pan fry fish, it always sticks. So you have to just leave it alone. It will uncook itself off the bottom of the pan. So what you need to try and do is just leave it and control the temperature. We control the temperature. How do you know what's going on at the bottom? We're listening. We want to hear what's happening in the pan. We want a nice kind of happy sort of noise, not too sparky. And if it's not making any noise at all, it means it's not doing it. And so you're just looking for that kind of medium sound, and you'll hear the sound change as we go. So my son Ewan, he's entering the big bad world. Is it Sunday he's away? So he's away to a HMS Raleigh in Portsmouth, and he's going down as part of his Navy training to learn various things. So he's looking forward to that. So he's away for a whole week. And he's needing 2 full suitcases of stuff. Right, so salmon is, I've not touched it, I've not moved it, I've not sugared it or anything, and it is hot, but the majority of the cooking of this is going to be done skin side down. And incidentally, the skin has been scaled, so if you buy salmon from a supermarket and there's skin on it, the chances are it's still got the scales, so you need to take it off. My advice would be to go to fishmongers, because a fishmonger wouldn't sell the salmon with skin on and scales. And you can't eat it with the scales, but I really like the skin. A little bit of salt. So this salmon here is called Native Hebridean, and this is it's the only farm salmon in the world that uses Scottish eggs. So it's genetically a Scottish salmon, as well as being growing here. So I just want to get some colour on each side. When we get colour on things, it's also flavour. To that, I'm going to add a little bit of butter and some lemon juice. Nice to see you, John. Where have you been? John thought I was going to be finished. He was on catch up to learn all my tricks. That's what it was, John. You'll just be finishing up for always. Right, I'm going to bung this in the oven for about 2 minutes. Laura, you could do a thingy of the wall. I think the thing is, I'm the most easy person to draw. No, never really knows what my face looks like. There's not much of a difference in some of them. I think my closest is that bowl of porridge. Right. So we are getting ready to plate up. That is our little fries. Chickpea salad. So what I'm doing here, chefs know how things are cooked by touching and feeling. So you can feel something like a steak or a bit of fish or a bit of meat and know if it's cooked just by touching it. And that is, so proteins firm up as they cook. Again, this ideally in an ideal world would be allowed to rest before going on the plate. This coriander has come in for some use. A little bit of coriander.
Stuart says they've all wanted to a tea.
Who has? I'm the easiest person to draw in the world, that's why people do it. Glasses, body heat, ginger. My son Cameron, he had I had a bit of beard envy. He had a 4-month beard yesterday, and he looked like a ginger Santa Claus for a wee bit, and he looked pretty cool. But it's gone. I've got my boy back. Right. So here we have our fish pie with ortichera. Actually French mustard, mashed potato, We've got our sweet potato fries, salmon and chickpea, coriander and yogurt salad. I think that's us. Any questions, Shazza, before we go? Nothing happening. Good. I know. I'm knackered, I need a beer. So
You've got a fish.
that's fine, I can. That's fine. Right guys, so thanks very much for tuning in. Hope you have an amazing week and give this a go. It's dead easy. So I'll see you later. Bye for now. Bye bye.